sont dit partout.
What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's our weekly live stream where we talk about news, culture, and of course our movie review. Co-piloting this thing with me is always a homeboy Rob.
What's going on?
A lot of things. A lot of things. Of course, we have our movie review, which I mentioned before. Tonight's review will be the movie Friday, starring Ice Cube and Chris Tucker.
I have to say, because I've always really liked this film, but in doing some of the research for for the review, I was like, man, I gained a lot of respect about this film, and what I appreciate it even more because I think it does send it's a comedy, and but there's a good message to it at the same time. It's not just dumbass, bullshit comedy.
Mm-hmm. Right, and when you think say Friday, and particularly under the theme for this month, which is like fathers and father figures, you wouldn't necessarily immediately go to that association, but I think when we get to the review, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, that's the one thing I gravitated to. So I was like, man, that those scenes with Craig and his dad, like when it gets real serious, I'm like, holy crap, those are heavy scenes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, you have that to look forward to. So please stick around. Of course, to the last the last third of the show, I should say. Um, but yeah, we got topics of the day. But before we get to that, we'll play a little catch up. Do anything fun this past weekend, Rob?
Well, we both did. We got to do a new episode for the podcast with a new friend of ours, John, who will be see that episode's going to be dropping next week. We did an interview with him. He is a host or one of three hosts of a podcast called The Cut Above Horror Review, which is a great podcast. I encourage everyone to go check it out. It's especially if you love horror movies. They do a really fantastic job of breaking those films down. They just got done doing. They just dropped their Midsummer review. Was it yesterday? So actually, no, it dropped today because I listened to it this morning. So so we did that, and we talked to him about his podcast. We reviewed Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which I absolutely love that film. And we had a great discussion on that. So that was a lot of fun. Other than that, I pretty much worked all weekend. I went from having a whole bunch of days off to not having any. We're super shorthanded at work, so it's. But yeah, no, it was fun. Well, yesterday it was a lot of work, but it was pretty much me and another friend of the podcast we've had on several occasions, Gay Alex. It's. But yeah, no, we ended up talking a lot about actually some of the topics we might be talking about tonight, and sci-fi movies, stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, did you do anything for Father's Day?
No, since I had to work, it just I was not going to have time to do anything for Father's Day, so we postponed our Father's Day stuff to this coming weekend.
I see. Yeah.
But my parents understood. My dad knows. He's like, hey, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll just do it next week. It's totally fine.
Right. Just like a perfect response from a father. Yes.
Yeah.
Because really every day is Father's Day and every day is Mother's Day. So, um, if you're not showing your parents love every day, then there's no real point. To have like a special day.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, this past weekend, my my entire well, not my entire family, but a good portion of my family, all met up in real life. Um, Something that we haven't done for these past 2 years. So that was a big treat. It was a lot of things that we were celebrating. Birthdays, graduations, particularly of my aunt, the oldest in my dad's family. She turned 80 this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's a big birthday. So
Yeah, that is a huge deal. So
yeah, and so so we were celebrating that. We were celebrating my nephew's graduation from high school. Well, technically from high school, and then my niece who was in town. She was taking part in this program at UCLA for the summer, uh, as well as yeah, just a lot of just a lot of catching up to do with family. So that was good. Um,
well, I
uh,
know family is a big aspect of your life, Andy. So I think that's good that you're not only able to spend time with like your dad, but like your whole family was able to kind of was able to join in and
right,
get
yeah, and I mean it's my dad's side of the family, and so like it was really nice, to see my dad and all his siblings sitting at a table and just like talking and catching up, and in like in person. So
yeah, that's always good.
yeah, so that's always nice to see. Yeah, yeah, because we did that. That kind of got subsumed into like Father's Day. I'm still I'm planning on getting I'm planning on getting something for my dad. And he's been like uh, harping to me about for a really long time. So I think I think since since Father's Day is coming out, and he has been asking about it recently. So I think I'm gonna get it for him.
Yeah, all right, cool.
So yeah. Yeah. Oh, I also saw Lightyear this past weekend.
Oh, what do you think of that?
Um, Not great. Not great.
When I heard the initial like the premise of it, I was like, okay, that seems like it might be kind of interesting, and but then you get all the, oh well, you know we need to have like this and this in it, and it's like, why? And then it's just like I don't know if I have any interest in watching this, just because it's like I don't want to promote a film that it's like, this is a kids film. There's no need for this to be in there. I mean, obviously, with Pixar, yes, it's a kids movie that is also, adults can enjoy it as well. But yeah, like when you start injecting certain things into those type of films, I'm like, that's not something that we need to see. It's just, and that, yeah, it was just, I heard it was a huge fucking disaster at the box office.
Well, yeah, because it's not because before because Disney really or specifically Bob Chapek really painted himself into a corner where
He's yeah.
in that he made like this huge you know uh, in the past in the oh, shoot, in the past Disney, they put in the scene, and then they put it in a way that if you got rid of it, it wouldn't be a big thing, right? And
Right.
so and so they could have just and they could have done the cowardly. thing, and just done that, and allowed the country or the territory to just edit it as you will. But because of the whole stink Bob Chapek made about like the whole supposed don't say gay bill in Florida. He couldn't do that. He couldn't do the stealth edit where it's like, oh yeah, we'll send it out to the foreign markets or the territories, but it will just do a little snip first. And so I understand like a kiss shouldn't be made of like a huge thing, but I was just thinking about I was thinking more and more about like the programming or propaganda side uh, of the injection of homosexuals, um, and it hit me because I'm not giving away the entire thing, but one of the gay characters, one of the lesbian characters, is in a relationship, and then she becomes pregnant, and so the question becomes, how does that happen? It's not as though two plus it's not as Disney. What they're doing is they're trying to say that 0 + 0 = 1.
Yeah.
Essentially. Um, and then and when you put that in a kids movie, the kid is gonna think like, oh, babies just happen. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as the people who are together love each other, then a baby can be formed. And so in that respect, it's propaganda and it's programming, and it's making them, and it's teaching kids, and it's making kids dumber. Because if they can't even recognize like if they can't even when they would grow up with like this constant like reinforcement of, oh, gay people can have get married, gay people can have babies, it's all good, and then when they reach like to the age where they have to be confronted with biological realities, it's like, how well are they going to take that? It's like when they first go to a biology class, and it's like, oh, a baby comes from the joining of egg and sperm by male and female, and it's like, no, teacher, all right, Disney told me that it doesn't matter, all right, because a man and a man can have a baby, and a woman can have a baby, and a Zim Zer and a this that can have a baby, and it doesn't matter.
That's a product of science with the trademark at the end of the E.
Yeah, right. It's a science TM.
It's that Fauci science.
Yeah, and so and and when my friends were initially talking about going to watch it, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go watch it because I didn't want to support it. And maybe it was my own cowardice, but I didn't say anything. And I just wanted to hang out with my friends, and so I went to go watch it, and then it's it may be the point where it's kind of like the frog in the boiling water. We're just at that point where we don't even feel the heat anymore, and it's like we just kind of take it, or it's just it's just like so normalized that we don't say anything, and and I don't know how they were processing it or whatever, because they are people, they're friends who would consider themselves to be believers, and yeah. I don't want to I don't want to cast aspersions on them or their like their level of belief or whatever, but I'm wondering if they're having the same kind of
reaction,
or or maybe like a little bit of that struggle, with what we saw, and like how we're like we supported this thing. We financially support this thing by giving him money. There
Yeah,
and in turn, therefore, they can take that money and then go and keep doing this thing. Um, I guess I guess I could just ask them. Um,
yeah, that is like an interesting question, and it's not that you and I haven't watched movies that aren't telling like similar because we did was that movie with Ethan Hawke what the fuck is that? I'm drawing a blank on the name right now. Anyways, it's essentially a movie about transgenderism in a lot of ways, but
wait, Gattaca?
no, not
Oh,
Gattaca.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We reviewed it with Dan. What the fuck was the name of the? I can't think of the name of the movie right now. God, I think I'm getting like dumb.
Was it
Anyways,
Predestination?
yes, Predestination.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right,
You know
right, right,
that is obviously a movie about an ideology that we don't agree with in any way, but it's a good movie. So I mean, and we reviewed it. We did it. We enjoyed it. But at the same time, we recognize like what they're trying, what spells are being cast. Um, Whereas like with this, especially like I have a feeling there are a lot of people who when it comes to like Disney Pixar, I don't know if they're necessarily understanding of what if they understand like what Disney is trying to do, and because we're up to date with like kind of like with what's going on in like the culture and
Yeah,
news and
we're hip. We're
stuff
with
like
it.
that. And we know that we've heard interviews with these people talking about what their plan is, and for a lot of but for like the general public, for people that are not really injected in that, they're probably thinking like, oh, Pixar, like this is the same people who created Toy Story and The Incredibles. Yeah, I like that movie a lot. And this is just the next one. Cool. And they're not realizing that hey, this thing that they're doing in this movie, because you have to remember, it's like, yes, you're technically like young adults to adults, and while this movie can be enjoyed by you, certainly, it's made for kids. And what's the message that it's trying to teach kids? Like, even though like maybe it's not the main point of the movie, but it's there. It's subtle. It's like, and kids are gonna see that, and it's like, oh, okay, and because they're a sponge. They take in everything, and like these characters, they don't necessarily know how to uh, understand between like reality um and uh and like the movie world. It's that this is not real, and this is actual reality, and they those things merge when are those two realities are merged for kids, and it's in a lot of ways it's very subtle indoctrination.
Right. No, exactly. Which is
But and I
which kind
think
of which I think I illustrated perfectly. When it's like the kid who grows up and goes to biology class, and then and then like is confronted with you know reality, and it's like, no, 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 teacher, no, no, no. I learned in Lightyear that it doesn't matter. It's like a woman and a woman can have a baby.
yeah, and yeah, but I think a lot of people who are not necessarily they're actively trying to promote um some of this evil, but it's so inculcated within the culture, that they're inactive participants, or they don't realize that they're
Yeah, or they're
participating.
unwitting. They're unwitting.
Yeah, and I think once like it's like, hey, this is not right. The things that they're talking about, what they're trying to do in these things is not right. And I think when people do see that, like, I think the majority of people are like, that's disgusting, or no, that's not right. The whole idea, the other thing that's going on with all the drag your kid to pride shows and all that stuff, like,
Mhm.
I think people don't realize that this is slowly becoming mainstream,
Mhm.
and it's like essentially it's opening the door to making pedophiles a protected class. That's exactly what's
Oh
happening.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Have you ever, yeah, have like you just have to ask people, like, what do you think that plus means?
Yeah.
At the end of LGBT, what do you think that plus really means? That's a way for them to infinitely add like all of these supposed like minority classes, under the umbrella of, well, let's be honest, degeneracy.
Yeah.
But it's just a way for them to, very stealthily put, add pedophilia, into that umbrella, and it's, and again, it's hilarious because I'll admit that there are reasonable gays out there, and and they've worked for really hard to disassociate, their gayness with pedophilia.
There's so many
Because
yeah.
early on that was the accusation hurled at them. It's like, oh no, if you let homosexuals, they're gonna try to butt fuck your 8-year-old, and and they're like, no, 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 of course not, no, we're, I only want to butt fuck an adult, you know. And they did every, they, and again, like it was a brilliant move because the campaigns, to normalize, you know homosexuality, through TV shows like Will and Grace or like Modern Family or what have you, and just like, oh no, these are the good gays, but then, it's never about, there's never, okay, we come, this is, we come this far, this is perfect, we don't have to go any further. It's like, no, 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 we have to keep going. It's like, and that's the problem with it, with the idea of progressivism, because there's no stopping. It's just like we have to keep progressing. It's like,
Yeah, that's
like basically progress all the way until like horseshoe theory.
it's gonna be it's and people still like look at me like that I'm a crazy person. It's like, oh, you're that's just a conspiracy theory, that's not really happening. It's like, yeah, it is. Like, you gotta open your fucking eyes. Like, it's not like this is just something that's happening, just like in some like fringe part of the country. Like, we literally had on Good Morning America on ABC, one of the largest
Yeah,
channels in the
one of the
United States,
mainstream news outlets.
one of the mainstream news outlets, and one of their most viewed shows. Uh, they literally had a kid who was going around. He was a drag, quote unquote drag kid, who was being shipped around different gay clubs, and they're
Yeah,
celebrating it.
yeah, and then and dancing, and dancing for a grown adult, having money thrown at him.
Yeah, and
Let's
you're
switch
telling
that.
me
Let's switch that around, and let's have a little girl going out to strip clubs, and dancing for old men, having money thrown at her.
yeah, really
Yeah, it's the
frustrating.
same thing, but people will be like, oh no, 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 that's different. That's different. It's like, oh no, little girl in a strip club, that's wrong. It's like, then make it make sense for a little boy.
I think even the Greeks would like blush at like this type of activity.
I know, right? Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Oh, and
Jesus
it's actually, yeah,
Christ.
and it's funny because like the idea of like gay marriage or whatever. It's like, even though the Greeks were permissive, uh, what's the word I'm looking for?
They had like permissive sexual activity. I mean, they
Right.
fucked everything.
Right, right, right. And they allowed homosexual relations, um, but they didn't equate the homosexual act with marriage, right? It's not as though, like, it's not as though Plato was saying, Oh, like, oh, it's like, it doesn't, love is love, I love this, 13-year-old boy, so why shouldn't I be able to marry him? Like, no, that's not what he was
No.
that's not what he was advocating. He just, what was it, what's that old, there's literally a Greek saying that, what is it, that, women are for children, and boys are for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to that effect,
Yeah,
and it's just
which
like,
is a gross statement, but God, I would almost take that over what's going on right now.
yes, exactly. Um, so I mean, yeah, and you might think that's like, oh, it's just a cartoon, guys. Why don't you
Get over
lighten
it.
up?
It's like, you know why I'm not gonna get over it? Why this is a big deal is because they made it a big deal.
Exactly. Like if they didn't say anything, or like if they didn't like purposefully, put out the like like the because they're all in league with each other, and so like like the what is it? Someone that I follow, he called like the Access Media. There you go, the Access Media. And so, you know, Disney, leaks it to one of these, media outlets, and says like, oh, Buzz Lightyear will feature gay kiss, and so it's like you made it a big deal, it's
Yeah,
like
like it could have been a whole film just of gay kisses, based off like their articles. I mean, it's like that's what I assumed the whole thing was about.
yeah, no, exactly, and it's like we're only making it a big deal because you're making it a big deal. It's like who cares if two gay characters kiss? I mean, it put like gun to my head. If especially if it's not like a main part of the story or integral part of the story, who cares, right?
Right,
And especially if it's a homosexual kiss between perceived two adult characters. I mean, it's. I mean, I know I'm trying to fight it, but I'm saying that it's so like mundane and ordinary now. But I mean, if they tried it with like an adult, a perceived adult male character and a perceived child character, then yeah, that's a big I would fight. I'd be more you know I'd be fighting it just a little bit harder.
right. Um, but yeah, it's just like that's the reason why we have a problem with it is because that's what they made it a big deal. So like, okay, well, so then we're gonna talk about it and we're gonna bash it, because we don't like it.
Exactly, and yeah, I mean, as like as kind of down or dour or like black pill I can get, like and more and like accelerationist, where it's like, oh, I just want to hurry up, I just want this whole thing to collapse, and so we can get over it. I do see that there's hope. I do see that there's hope, and even like the
Yeah.
fact that at that drag your kid to Pride thing in Texas that they had, when one
There
of
was a
the
lot of backlash,
right, and
from
like
some
when
parents.
and especially when one of the performers was confronted outside of the bar,
To be
he
ashamed
was
of
like
yourself.
you could tell, and you can tell that he felt shame, and like he was like telling his little midget boyfriends like, hey, let's get out of here, let's get out of here. He was like, to the point where he was like, you know, tapping on the hood of the car, be like trying to get the essentials, like, hey, let's go, da, 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 da. It was like, and you could see on the face that there was shame, and
Yeah,
and rightfully
as it
so.
should be.
It was good. It was a good thing. It was good that he had not the shame that he had like a being proud of fucking a man in the ass or whatever, but he knows that he was doing something wrong, dancing around half naked in front of small children, and I mean, and also women should be most offended over just the concept of drag, because it is the what is it, exaggeration and caricature of what a woman is. It's exaggerated. It's overly sexual.
There's blackface and then there's woman face. Drag is
Right,
woman
exactly. I
face.
mean, yeah, like look at how that they do, like they overdo the makeup. They do big hair. They pad
Why do
their
they always look like Tim Burton characters?
Yeah, like what's from Mars Attack, that one alien that disguised itself as like a woman.
Yeah. Why do they
Yeah,
always look like
I don't
fucking Tim
know,
Burton
but like yeah,
characters?
it should be that a drag should be offensive to women because it's making a mockery of what a woman is.
Yeah. It's just grotesque, like what's happening in our society. And but like you said there is hope. There are people that are pushing back. It's not enough, but I
Yeah,
wish it
or I mean,
was.
or it doesn't seem as though it's enough, but you know, little steps. The flood. The flood didn't happen all at once.
True.
It started with a solitary raindrop.
Yeah, but
So
gross stuff. And well, I'm glad you took that bullet to watch Lightyear to tell me about it. Now, would you rather watch this or like Birdemic? And he's like, you know what? I choose death.
yeah, I know. I know. No false binaries for me. I choose that. Um, um, no, but even still, like this, even the gay stuff notwithstanding, it's still the movie was still not good because of kind of like deconstructionist nature of like or the deconstructive uh, elements of this movie of the character or the archetype of Buzz Lightyear, which is really I mean because like you know if you remember the original Toy Story and how hyped and the character Andy was for Buzz Lightyear, you watch this movie and it's like it's not the same character.
No, I guess like they were doing something like really like odd because it wasn't like it was supposedly like the real Buzz Lightyear that
Right.
was
Well,
that the
okay,
show was
not
based
again.
off
This is
that made
not
the game.
right. Uh, this is not giving away the whole store. But yeah, there's like a little thing in the beginning of the movie where it's like, oh, 1995, Toy Story came out, and and Andy got this toy that was based on the movie, Buzz Lightyear Star Command, and it's like this is the movie. So the movie that I watched is supposedly the same movie that Andy watched, the character Andy watched, and but like how like hyped he is for Buzz Lightyear and like kind of like the portrayal of like the kind of archetypal, rugged, man, fully capable and self-sufficient is not what we see in the Lightyear movie.
Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you'll ever watch it, but if you do, then maybe I can talk a little. Because again, I'm like, I don't, because I'm gonna respect that it's a new release, and so like maybe people do want to go watch it, and
Yeah, no, like I said, I
and I don't
I'm
want
not
to, and I
I'm
don't
not
want to
going out
like,
to theaters to
yeah,
watch
and
it
I don't
though.
want to necessarily ruin it, but yeah, I let's just say I didn't appreciate this movie.
But yeah, no, that's. But you bring up, like I said, you bring up an interesting point about like it's um even you, it's like yeah, you didn't want to go, but you felt it was good to like you wanted to hang out with your friends, and that honestly that makes sense. Trust me, I've been drugged to a bunch of shit, just because like my friends wanted to go. I'm like, fine.
Mm-hmm.
That I understand.
Right, and so yeah, I don't know why I'm showing such deference to a company that has proven that it hates its own customer base.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just better. I'm just better than you.
So basically, like what you're telling me, Andy, is that you support Disney all the way. You're pro Pride Month, and yeah, you were really excited to
Yes, from the outside perspective, yes, that's how it would look.
And
Yes.
you got your bottom friendly meal from Postmates afterwards, right?
Oh yeah, of course. The movie, yeah. I went to an AMC, and so it was one of those dine-in ones. So yeah, I checked the menu to make sure it was all bottom-friendly food.
And he's giving me that death stare, like, fuck you, man.
Yeah, but I have to play into it so I don't cry.
Anyways, why don't we rip off
Anyways,
the
let's get into the topics of the day. I guess we'll just start off with
rip off that Band-Aid, buddy.
yeah, let's rip off the Band-Aid. Well, apparently, some more information about the Uvalde shooting came out, and stills from surveillance cameras were released, and it showed officers in the corridors, fully kitted out with their vests and ballistic shields, and yet they didn't breach. They didn't even look like they were waiting for the command to go in, and the command never came. And in fact, the opposite order was given, and the officers were told to stand down. Um, and what was it? I think I heard it reported that they wanted to wait for the shooter to be locked in one of the rooms before they entered or something. It's basically dumbass.
He locked himself in the room. It's
Yeah, I know. It's like he's already in there. He's breached. Like he was in like a room full of small children with for almost an hour.
This is hearing stuff like this makes me think that this was done by design. People are probably going to think that I'm on like some Alex Jones, tirade here, but this is. I'm not saying that they created this situation, that they created this guy, but not only did they have prior knowledge of this guy, there was ample time where people like, hey, this guy is a danger. He was literally doing serial killer shit, like killing animals and stuffing them in bags, and he'd been threatening people. She shot his grandmother, who I think survived, which is like pretty badass. It's like she survived.
Right.
He comes from a broken home, no dad.
Yeah. The kicker, the dad stayed away from his son because he was scared of COVID.
Oh Jesus, that's even like I was gonna say it's like, oh, he was just like a deadbeat, but like that's just, oh, you're just a pussy. Okay, got it. So you have that. So you have all of these like signs where it's like, they've been talking about, oh, we need red flag laws, we need this, we need that. Okay, it's like they're there. There are red flag laws. But you guys didn't do anything about it. Like the FBI had prior knowledge of this guy. Once again, did nothing. And there was the whole. From what I understand of the timeline, is not only he wrecked his car, on the way over there, he had been shooting at people prior to going into the school, and so there was that. You have. There was no, even though based off like what the media and the police were saying, there was no officer on the campus. There was no pushback there. All the doors were unlocked. He just walked in. There was no resistance, and he walked in this classroom and he just started. He barricaded himself in and started killing kids. And then on top of that, the police were called, several minutes after that. It took them time to get there, and then when they got there, they created a perimeter and did nothing. And the only thing that what they did was they blocked parents from coming in to protect their kids. and now even afterwards, like, the parents that are speaking out against these guys, they're threatening them. It's like, oh well, you're, with like with prosecution, like, we're gonna arrest you for speaking out. What?
Yeah, see, that's like the one element that makes me question, this whole thing is because, especially like as a parent, like, would there be any like threat that someone could make against you that would keep you from, going to get your kid? Because you see you see the videos of like the parents screaming like, oh, like they're in there, and like, and like the cops are telling them to calm down or whatever. It's like there's no parent. There should be no parent that doesn't say fuck you and just go past the cops. Like, if you're gonna shoot me right now, and then go and get exactly. and then yeah. But then there were the examples of, parents that did, like, say fuck you, and then they went and they got their kids and got them out.
Yeah, they would have had to kill me.
Yeah.
Like, you shoot me, you do whatever the fuck you have to do and justify yourself, but you're not doing anything, so I'm gonna do it.
Right. Yeah. That's you have like small, you have few incident like stories of that happening, but like, yeah, you see the video of like the parents just be like screams like, go, like, get my kids. Like, why aren't the parents saying just like fuck you and just going to go get the kids?
Well, one mom did.
Right. And I'm saying, yeah, like, I know we have like, we have a few instances of that, but like, yeah, just like, all those other parents who kind of, who were just kind of like, I don't know, paralyzed by fear or whatever, but like didn't like just, cross, that police line to go get their kid. I don't know.
And that whole thing, like, I can't even imagine like what's going on in the minds of those parents too. Like, yeah, they're scared, but they're caught in a situation where it's like, because we are taught that, especially in these type of instances, the police are the good guys. They're the ones that are doing, they're taking care of it.
Mm-hmm.
But they aren't. So it's like you're kind of like, I imagine your brain's doing
right there's some cognitive dissonance going on.
Yeah, and so in that sense, I don't blame some of those parents. Yeah, they're right, and I can't even imagine what that's like. So I'm not gonna blame the parents in this situation. The worst.
I mean, yeah, I'm not blaming parents. I'm not blaming the parents either. I just think it's odd. Some parents just did like that. Some parents just didn't go. And I will give the benefit of the doubt and say, like, okay, they were just like, they had that cognitive dissonance.
That's where I tend to lie. It's like I don't see. Like I said, I'm not going
right.
to.
And, yeah, and I'm fully capable of giving that benefit of the doubt, but I still think it's odd.
I understand like I said, I understand what you're saying, Andy. But the fact that this feels like this was not an event that was created by the powers that be, but they're utilizing these events, people who have a political agenda, they want to. They are going to use these events that, like, oh, you know what, we're gonna let this happen, and to create it's political terrorism in a lot of ways.
And this is the perfect distinction that this is the perfect example of the distinction that we can make. Because there's people who say, oh, like more towards our side, but they'll say false flag, and a lot of people hear that saying that, oh, that this didn't happen, or this was staged or whatever. That's not what we're meaning. That's not okay. When we say false flags can be a lot of things. All right, it's not just like it's fake, or it's nothing more than like a carefully orchestrated and produced what is it, like, TV event. We're saying that it's a false flag in that the whatever puppet master or powers that be will use this actual event to then push like their own agenda.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's not like where, oh, we have,
Yeah,
we're
they
gonna,
didn't like specifically plan this out and pick, and recruited the kid and whatever. But we're saying that they're using this, to their advantage. And then so in that way it's a false flag.
And we've talked about this in weeks, and several times before, especially when it came to like the whole the Buffalo stuff, and is we actually, I think the last several of these like types of shootings, what has come out has been like that. Not only did the authorities know about these people beforehand, they did absolutely, and not only did they know about them, and that there was legal justification to either incarcerate them or to institutionalize them.
Yeah, or even at the very least, put a post-it note in their file.
Right. At the very least.
Yeah, at the very least.
They didn't do it, and I think a lot of that has to do with like, what, not that they're creating a situation, but it's like, this person's gonna snap, let's let it happen.
Right, but then even with like this like recent kid, a lot of things don't line up either, because like he had at least a few $1,000s worth of equipment, but like he I don't think he had a job, or like at least not a full-time one.
How did he acquire those?
Yeah, how did he acquire all of this equipment? Like two
guns
AR-15s, at least like, what was it, like 900 rounds.
Yeah.
It's like, how does someone who doesn't have a job or doesn't have a full-time job afford these things? And yeah, you could say, he was living with his parents or whatever, so it was, his living expenses weren't that, great or whatever. But still, like someone, okay, let's say that he had a part-time job. That's less than 40. That's less than 30 hours a week, or it is 30 hours a week. And then after taxes, that's nothing. That's nothing. Even if he's not paying for rent, even if he's not paying for, uh, cell phone, or car payments, or insurance, that's still nothing.
Is it like Henry Portavas character? It's like, I you can make a phone call and get a gun. Anybody can get a gun, Otis. It's like, maybe it's one of those situations. I don't know, but it just seems like there's just. I admit that sounds very suspicious, because like I know how expensive those guns are.
Mm-hmm.
They're real
right,
expensive.
and like one of them had like a really good like sight on it too, like an optical sight, and then
that's a couple $1,000s worth of equipment just for the one gun, if not, but he had several.
Yeah, and then the ammo, like at least like, I think it was less than 1,000, I believe. But like that's a lot of rounds, and especially right now with ammo prices the way that they are, it's like, how does this kid afford like that many rounds?
Yeah. So that's, I don't have an answer for that. That's a little weird too. But like I said, this is all like, it's not, like I said, this is not necessarily a grand conspiracy, well orchestrated, Manchurian Candidate type of deal. That's not what's happening here. But it's just like it's a matter of circumstances, being that are happening, that are being politicized and manipulated, to enact a political end.
Mm-hmm.
And that it really is, and this is not to take away from from the victims, because
no, of course not.
But the fact that people are willing to let young children, or to be honest, anybody, that matter, let bodies hit the floor for this political agenda to what, destroy the Second Amendment, to gin up,
No,
crazy,
it's to leave everyone defenseless. That's what it is.
yeah, that
That's really what it is.
it's evil. It's evil that's happening. It's evil in the sense of, well, how could this happen? Why did this happen? It's evil. People, it's not necessarily like, they came from a bad home, which is horrible. So you have evil parents who treat their kids like crap, and then the cycle continues where they become, crazy and evil. And then you have these political animals who are, yeah, fuck them. If they die, it benefits me. And so we're gonna utilize this to enact our end. And if people have to die to do it, so be it. That's evil too. And the fact that like those cops, I'm not saying that like those cops that just we're just following orders. Like where have we heard that before?
Not since the days of Mean Mr. Mustache.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, you ignore those orders. That's evil. You go in, and who cares about your fucking ballistic shield? That.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, they told on themselves right away with like that lieutenant or whatever saying like, oh well, we were thinking of the safety of our officers. It's like that's why we didn't like have
I
them
don't
go
give
in.
a
It's
shit
like,
about the safety
are
of your
you
officer.
fucking kidding me?
That's where you throw safety out the fucking window. Adam Carolla talks about this, where it's like, safety first is bullshit. It's like there's times where you have to throw. Safety is not the first priority.
Right. Oh, yeah. What's it? The guy from Dirty Jobs.
Mike Rowe.
Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe. Yeah, he even talked about that in a podcast where before like before any taping that involved like heavy machinery, they'd always have like a safety uh, meeting, talk, and that they go always they'd always go through like oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't make sure that this is locked down or whatever. But it's just like it's they've been doing it for so long. It's like they know all of these things. And it's like, do they really need to go over this like every single time?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but in those moments, like for officers, yeah, I'm sorry, safety is not the safety of the officers should not be the first priority.
Right.
Sorry.
Exactly.
And if you don't like that, you don't have to be in that job. You can quit. You can do something else.
Right. Yeah. If it's just a little too dangerous for you, maybe you can take you can find another line, another profession.
Yeah, it's just real evil stuff. And
like
the
anal
more that
bead tester. I don't know.
yeah, the more that I hear about this story, I'm just like I've never I think this is the most flabbergasting story. This is probably the worst of like all the shootings, just because of this. Like, it just feels so.
Well, I think it's also so troubling is because you see what they're trying to do. What the real objective is, and that is to strip everyone of their guns.
Yeah. Well, God, how quickly did it take Beto O'Rourke to like try to utilize that for his own political end?
Yeah, the bodies weren't even cold yet, and he was like already like stepping on them. Grandstanding at that press conference with the governor and the mayor of Uvalde.
It's just like, wow. It's like that's the picture perfect of what it's about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I'm not even
it's hilarious.
like,
It's
I
hilarious.
agree with everything that that press conference was talking about, because I did listen to it, and it's like, but they did have a lot of good points. It's like, yeah, we need to focus on like fixing like the mental health. We need to institutionalize these people before this starts. we need to do something different, like to prevent these things. Taking away guns and all this stuff, like it's not going to do anything. I mean, Canada, Prime Minister Kendall, Justin Trudeau, like literally like days after the events of this shooting, what does he do? He bans handguns in Canada.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't even handguns that the shooter used. It was the boogeyman gun, AR-15. But it's like, well, you knew that's what they were trying to do. That's what they all wanted to do
Yeah.
all along. It's because it
See,
didn't matter what the gun was.
They can't do it quickly. They can't do it that quickly here in the United States, but Canada doesn't have those protections. So he just, he just pretty much like, Canadians, fuck you, who own guns. You're evil, and I'm taking them away.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so weird because even in Canada, there's like they don't even believe in like
Self-defense.
yeah, self-defense. Like you cannot, like, if you're a battered wife, you divorce your husband, like you can't get a gun for self-defense. You can't put self-defense as the reason of why you need the gun.
That's fucking crazy. That's just fuck that.
And it's that this is backfiring, or because gun stuff has never worked. Like they keep trying, and they get close. I'll admit they get close, but they never win. And we it's because it's the high stakes meme. The like the superhero who's like with a sweat on the brow and like the two buttons.
Yeah.
Because it's like and right now the two buttons are ACAB, all cops are bastards, and then also only police should have guns. So it's like and so right now the people on the left and the leftist politicians are like all cops are bastards, but only cops should have guns, and they don't know which one to go with.
Exactly. And we kind of talked about this. Oh shoot, I had a point like that I was gonna make that. Crap, it escaped my. I'm sorry. I had a thought. Kind of going back to what we talked about like last week, where what the hell was I gonna say? I don't even remember what I was gonna say. But yeah, it's just kind of it's just like weird,
guns, leftist politicians.
It'll come back to me at some point. But anyways, yeah, it's just crazy to think about that this stuff like this is happening. Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say. Like, no, it goes back to last week. We were talking about like the this is why we have this like weird thing that's going on in our government now, where the branches are completely out of order. We've put
or they don't do the things that they were supposed to do.
Like I said, this is where it's really dangerous of the amount of power or the amount of power that we've given to the judiciary, because it always seems like we're always like kind of like what one thing that's actually been pretty good that one of the things Ted Cruz, like one of the books that he wrote was called One Vote Away, and it's really scary how many of these like Supreme Court cases that could have just really done a lot of damage to the country have been like it's been one vote that has kept it from really teetering over the fucking edge. That's
right.
That should not be the case at all. And when we are doing these executive orders and trying to pack the Supreme Court to enact a political end, it's like that's a very dangerous thing.
Political end.
Yeah, and when you have like a whole branch that like, it's not that they're seeking like that they're trying to vie for power. They just abdicated their role altogether.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what is it like? The Supreme Court has become nothing more than an extra legislative branch
to waste money.
To waste money.
And Dinesh D'Souza brought up an interesting point where where it's like we have to stop, kind of just, playing, playing these same games. Okay, they want to pack the court. They want to throw, five Supreme Court justices into like it's like okay, well, you know what? We're gonna pack the court, but we're gonna put in 50. So it takes you 40 years to come back, from that. It's like where you actually have to make real threats and not only like make the threats, but do them. And where it's like so they stop doing what the fuck they're trying to do. It was just like, you know what, I totally agree with that. It's if that's what it takes to rebalance our government, where we stop playing these dumb political games, that ultimately end in the failure of uh, the American uh, the American
Republic.
project, then let's go for it. Like I'm so tired of these people that are supposedly on our side of the aisle that are just fucking weak. They're weaklings.
Right. Yeah, we have to. Yeah, it's it's the wild man gambit. You know.
I honestly, I want more. I want more guys like Rand Paul, where it's like, it's like I don't. I think that's one guy that actually gives a crap about the country and he hates the government. It's like.
Yeah. Yeah, like yeah, you want to Ron Swanson, as a leader, because his ultimate objective is to bring it all, crumbling down. And so, and I think Rand Paul is the closest that we're gonna get. And I've said it before, if Rand Paul ran along with was it Thomas Massey as his running mate, I would totally vote for that.
Yeah,
Paul
I
Massey,
would too.
2024.
That
Because
would be.
Thomas Massey was the only one who's like stood up to Trump, for that first for the CARES Act and stuff. It's like, no, don't do that. And Trump was the one who's like, get that guy out of the Republican Party. But Thomas Massey
Yeah.
was correct.
And I agreed with him. I was like, this is a horrible idea. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and admittedly, Thomas Massey isn't like uh, the most charismatic person. And he's a nerd. Let's just be straight up about it. He's a nerd. But
I'm
he's a
me.
nerd that I can get behind.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it doesn't matter because Rand Paul, he's the face. Rand Paul's the face because he does have a bit of charisma to him. And so yeah, make him president, make Thomas Massey vice president, and start kicking ass.
I mean, at the very least, I think if like Rand Paul was president, like we would stop giving money to all these fucking foreign governments.
Oh hell yeah! Like when his dad was running, and he made the case about how like why the hell do we still have all these military bases in foreign countries? Why don't we shut them down and bring them home? Bring all our men home and start build keeping our country safe. I was like, hell's
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea to have them in certain strategic areas, but like there's a lot of
But
them.
I mean,
It's
in
like
like Germany though,
no, why do we have it in Germany? There's
that's what
no
I'm saying.
reason.
There's no more Nazis, at least that we know of, in Germany anymore.
We're in
So
Ukraine now. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I understand. Like in Bagram or whatever, because that's kind of like the current theater of
Yeah.
the forever war, that we're
Like,
in.
I understand having them in like some of like the Asian countries like Korea and Japan because we
Well,
have to
yeah,
keep
because
them on
of
side.
Rocket Man. Yeah, that I
And North
understand.
Korea. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like why do we have them like why do we have so it's not that we have one in Germany. We have many in Germany.
There you go.
If you want to limit it down to one, okay.
Yeah, bring the rest home. Maybe put them, on border duty. Go
Yeah,
for it. Go for
exactly.
it.
Because that's a theater of war in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we stopped giving money to like Iran, Ukraine, yeah, all these like unless like we're actually getting something out of it. Why are we funding any of this shit? stop giving money to people like Dr. Fauci, who has essentially ruined the country. It's like in one way or another. It's just, dude, I to be honest, I hope at some point that happens. And he's
Yeah,
young.
you know what?
That's the other thing. He's like,
At this point, I would, fine. Let him take whatever money he's owed and let him take his pension and just screw off, dude. Just screw off. All right, we'll let you keep all the money. We'll let you keep your golden parachute, but just fuck off.
Yeah, and we just kind of get rid of that whole. We just get rid of whole departments or merge stuff. We get rid of whole swaths of just bureaucratic bullshit. We stop wasting money. I mean, it's like, God, that would be right away. The economy would be way better for that.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Yeah,
We actually
if the budget didn't have to be split like a billion different ways, then yeah, like imagine what we'd be able to accomplish and like actually be effective at.
That really should be, because I know there's some states that have this where they have to, like, where their state constitution forces them to have a balanced budget, and we really need to have, I think that should be like the next amendment in our
Constitutional
constitution.
amendment, yeah.
Yeah, is that we actually have to, like, say what we're spending our money on and have a balanced budget. We can't have this, $1 trillion.
Yeah, we can't just have like printer goes brr crap again.
Because the thing is, like, because what we have, if we just, okay, fine, you're still taxing us at the same rate, and we have this, like, we have all this debt, right? Okay, you tax us the same as you've been taxing us, pay off the debt. It'll take like 3 years, it'll be done, and then you don't like, and you have senators or whatever that are senators and congressmen who have done nothing for years. It's like you get to take a pay cut. You don't, or some of them, honestly, should either be just kicked out because they're too fucking old.
Yeah.
And
have you seen that picture of young and old Dianne Feinstein?
She's been our senator for how long? Like my entire life.
Yeah, at the very least 3 generations of my family.
That's just no.
Yeah, I think like when my family, like when my parents like first came to this country, to this state even, and then like me, and then like my nieces and nephews. That's 3 generations of my family that this bitch has been probably the senator of California.
And the only significant thing I've ever heard her say was like when those like kids were berating her. It's like, yo, you're I would never, are you my voting? Did you vote for me? How old are you? It's like,
I know,
well, then
right?
you're not my voting base.
So yeah, you're not
It's
even old enough to vote for me. Exactly, go screw up.
That's the only significant thing that she's done in her, like, what, 50 years in office. Jesus Christ. That's insane.
Seriously, yeah, I'm curious now. Let's see. Whoa, she a tall bitch though, 5'10".
Oh wow, yeah, that's. I did not expect her to be that tall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, she's kind of old now, so she might have shrunken.
Yeah, she's taller than me. Jesus.
Yeah, taller than me too. Let's see. How long has she been in political office? Oh, she was a mayor of San Francisco too. Jesus. Governor.
She probably has never had a real job.
Okay, she became a senator in '92.
But she's probably been in politics way longer.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, she was mayor of San Francisco in 1978 to 10 years. 1978 to 1988.
Jesus Christ.
Jeez. She's a fucking fossil.
So she's been a public figure for 50 years, essentially.
Yeah. Christ almighty. Yeah, I mean, well, she assumed the senator position in '92.
Because she came in like right around like when like Pelosi was kind of became she went into Congress right around that same time, I think, too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, she was a like right around that Clinton era. There's a bunch of these guys that got into their positions and like they've just never left. And they were old then. It's just like
Yeah.
ah.
Bloody hell.
I don't understand like why would you vote for a guy in their fucking like late 70s, early 80s? Why?
I don't know.
Would you want like someone at that age, do you want them like doing what sane person would want those guys doing anything like driving a car or operating, being a police officer or anything? Why would you want them running the country?
That's a very good
And
question.
that's and like we talked about this last week too. Like, yeah, I'm well. I didn't vote for Biden because he's way too old. But like, I did vote for Trump. But like, honestly, this next go around, no, he's too old. And now, is he as decrepit and old as Joe Biden? No, he still has his brain.
Yeah, he still
For
has his wits about him.
Yeah, but he's still. If I'm being consistent, he's too old. No, I'm not voting in the primary or the primary. Yeah, I'm not voting for him because he's too old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if it's a a rematch between Biden and Trump, then well, okay. Well, then I'm probably gonna vote for Trump because I'm not gonna vote for super brains. Uh, but still, it's just like fuck. These people are too fucking old.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I stated this last week, but yeah, I'd rather Trump just be in the kingmaker position, going forward, you know,
Yeah.
and and
So
I would love,
I will be
if
honest.
he would throw, I would love if he threw his support behind Rand Paul, because with that, slam dunk for sure.
Well, it's weird because some of I'm so mystified by why the hell did he throw his support behind Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania for the Senate position?
Yeah, that's
But
that was weird.
because he did that, Dr. Oz has a shot at that in that
Yeah,
role.
for Senate, yeah.
Because had Trump not thrown his support behind Dr. Oz, which I think was a huge mistake,
Mm-hmm.
he would have been, they would have laughed him out of the room. He wouldn't have been even close.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if he supported somebody like Rand Paul, like hey, this guy should supporting him for president, that has a lot of weight. It still does. I don't know if that would be like the super huge push, but like I could see, right now that would really like go a long way. But yeah, I just guys, people, when you're voting, Stop voting for people in their late 70s and early 80s. Stop voting for these mummies. Their brains, yeah, these are some of the most stressful positions in the world, and you're giving it to people who should be in a fucking rocking chair spending time with their family. We literally see guys like Jerry Nadler and Joe Biden shitting themselves on live television. But we're going to keep voting them in. Why?
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't want to say it's just a humiliation ritual, but I mean that's what it is. It really is. You know, it's what is it? It's the bargain with the devil. You know, especially since Joe Biden has been, he tried 3 previous times to become president. Didn't happen. He made a deal with the devil. Say, I want to be president. But it's like, oh, but you're not gonna be respected. So you're not gonna. I mean, you're gonna be a consequential president, but not for the good reason. Not for the good reasons.
Honestly, and I think we have the minimum voting or the minimum age for president being 35. I think we need to have a maximum age of 65.
Agreed.
That gives you 30 years to become president. If you can't do it in 30 years, sorry.
I know. Give it up.
And honestly, like,
call it a career.
Yeah. I understand, like, stuff like, congressmen or whatever, like, those guys tend to, they do have younger people in those positions. That's fine. But yeah, the same thing. I think, like, the maximum age for any elected position should be 65. And if they enacted, like, 2 terms, that's it. Like, you don't get to just be in this position forever. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna lose a lot of good. We're gonna lose good people in that, but we're gonna get rid of a lot of shit. We're gonna flush it down the fucking toilet.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's get on to the next topic, which kind of ties into the last one, in that just merely about questioning stuff, and the importance of it, and that I guess. I guess one of the greatest questions of all times, like, did we go to the moon?
I know that this is your hobby horse, Andy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not as though, it's just, it's because the more you think about it, the more you look into it, just like the more and more it's like, yeah, we didn't go to the moon.
Now here's the thing. Like, here's where I'm at. Am I completely on your side? No. But where my antennas are raised, because you do bring up some interesting questions. Why was a lot of the telemetry and the recordings and all that stuff that of the initial moon landing in 1969, why was that taped over? That should be in a fucking museum. That, like,
Exactly. It should be in the Smithsonian. It should be preserved. It should be available on fucking Blu-ray. All right.
Exactly. Like, I should, we should all. I mean, obviously, maybe not in 1969, but, like, as time has gone on, it's like, hey, this is something that people should see. Like, it's a this is, like, one of, if not the greatest achievement of, humankind, American humankind. Okay, so, like, that's already.
And it's not, it's what is it? It's it's transnational. All right, it's the greatest achievement of humankind. Yes, go America, we did it first, but it's like the greatest
And
accomplishment of humanity.
my other question is, okay, they taped over it. What did they tape over with? What was taped over it? Like, was it like uh another trip to the moon? Was that what, like, was it like the next, like,
Well,
because I think there was like, what, four? There was the Apollo 13 mission, which
it went
failed.
like there were all okay. It went from 11 through 17. Of course, 13 didn't make it allegedly.
Yeah, but
So
like
it was
17, I like the last one was
five
what?
missions. It was 5 missions.
Right, because I think the last one was 1974.
With Apollo 17.
So the initial moon landing, was it taped over from the one of the other ones? Okay,
Uh,
still, I would still want to see that. Like, or at least, like, or just say, like, yeah, we didn't have like enough equipment, so we utilized we utilized the same equipment and we recorded the data from our other moon landings. But they don't say that when you ask that question. It's like, well, we don't know. It's like, well, okay, that's a little weird. Um, so already, and like, they get upset when you ask that question, or you have um the what's sometimes when you ask, like, the people that were on these missions, like, what does it look like, what did space look like, what did you see, and or like, the people who have been in there, like, what do you see out there, it's like, and it's like, the star, it's like, they sound so these are the experts and they sound like fucking idiots.
yeah, I
you
mean,
know
if you want to hear the smartest retard in the world, go to YouTube, and type in Don Pettit.
yeah,
All
that's
right,
right, that's
Don Pettit. He is NASA's, or I mean, I don't know if he still is, but he's NASA's head astronaut essentially. And he'll tell you, it's like, and you listen to him talk, and you tell me that that's not a retard. I dare you.
yeah.
Go open up a new tab, type in Don Pettit NASA, and listen to him talk, and you tell me that that's not a retard.
Yeah, and the reason why, like, this the my my interest in it is because my grandfather was part of the initial engineering group that was testing the levels of, like, cosmic radiation, before we started sending out, like, manned missions out into space. So it's they so yeah, like, I'm interested, but yeah, it's just like there's just a lot of weird, like, irregularities. Like, what why don't you, Andy, 'cause you're hobby horse. What are your questions that you ask that, like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
piss
Well,
people
there's only three, and you don't have to have a advanced degree in science or engineering to talk about this or to even think on it. It's just three kind of basic questions. It's like, what happened to the data tapes? And they gave three different answers. It's like, what happened to telemetry data? It's like, oh, we got it. You want the data? We'll show you the data right now. It's like, okay, show it to me. It's like, oh, actually, well, no, we had to tape over those data tapes because there was a budging problem in 1970, whatever.
well, okay,
Taping over your wedding ceremony for like the seventh game in the NBA Finals.
yeah.
Okay. It's like you taped over the tapes. Like, no, actually, we lost the tapes. It's like, you lost the tapes. You lost
You
like,
lost
no,
the
actually,
game.
you know what? An intern discovered them at a garage sale and bought them for $20.
Why were they at a garage sale for $20?
Why would you tape over? Again, why would you tape over the greatest accomplishment of humanity. How could you lose the greatest accomplishment of humanity? And why would they be at some random ass uh, garage sale? Are you saying that NASA, with its $70 billion a year, at the time budget, that you couldn't either afford more tapes or or higher security to keep an eye on it?
A little weird.
Yeah, simple questions. You don't need to be a rocket scientist, and that's how you know that there's something up, because doesn't it sound like when they give you when you heard those answers to the questions that I posed, didn't it sound like when a little kid lies, it's like, oh, my daddy has a Harley Davidson motorcycle. It's like, oh yeah, let me see it. It's like, oh well, actually, you know what? It's being detailed right now. It's being detailed. It's like, oh, it's being detailed right now. It's like, oh, actually, no, you know what? It's like, okay, let's come back next week. And you come back next week. It's like, oh, what happened to let's see the Harley Davidson. Actually, you know what? It got into a crash, so it's gonna be fixed. It's in the repair shop right now.
Or it's one of those things. Well, actually, it's not a Harley Davidson. It's a Vespa.
Right. So, oh, actually, it's not a Vespa. It's a moped.
Yeah, it's like, what?
Okay. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is it's the only time in human history that technology has gone backwards. In that, again, because if you go and look up Don Pettis, NASA, on YouTube, you'll find a video of him talking about how, and this is me quoting him verbatim. It's like, I would go to the moon in a nanosecond, but we can't because we destroyed the technology and it'd be too painful to recreate.
So you're telling me that although our technology is better than it was
it's
back
light
in
years ahead of
1969,
where it was. All right, we walk around with supercomputers in our pockets.
yeah,
And you're saying that you can't. And you're saying that you can't
two
recreate
roads.
technology that you have all the plans for because it'd be too painful.
I mean, if you wanted to make the argument, like, okay, well, we can't. It's harder to go back now because of the amount of space debris that's orbiting around the Earth. That's a smarter answer than it's like we actually can't recreate the technology. Like,
exactly. Okay. Yeah. And that's like, yeah. And again, that's not. I'm not even exaggerating. Are his exact words.
Jesus Christ.
Okay?
And you wonder why there are conspiracy theories about this.
Right? I mean, yeah, and it's like, and it's not even a recent thing, because what is it? After the Apollo 11 mission, what you were saying about like how the astronauts couldn't even tell you what it will look like outside the module. It's like, yeah, it was Michael Collins who couldn't even remember if there were stars.
Now, that's one of those things I'm gonna get with that particular one. I'm willing to give some benefit of the doubt where it's like, because if that's actually happening, you might not necessarily be like, you know what, like you're so focused on the mission at hand, like you're not necessarily focused on like the minute details. But you would think that, like, holy shit, like we are touching the fucking heavens right now.
They supposedly, during like their mission, on their way back, supposedly, they stopped monitoring the instruments or whatever long enough for them to read a passage from the Bible. And it was Genesis.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. That's a hard one to get around because I'm just
all right. And I mean, and just anecdotally, I remember as a kid, me and my family, we went camping a lot. And this one time we didn't go to like, a really we went camping off grid. It wasn't like at a site or like at at a state park or national park, whatever. We just like stopped at this on the side of the road, pitched a tent, and we were camping. And at night, and there was like less light pollution, there was less pollution, and I remember looking up and I saw the entire sky was filled with stars. And I still remember that to this day.
Right.
And are you telling me that you, without the encumbrance of an ozone layer, of atmosphere, of clouds, of anything else, you don't remember if you saw stars?
Now, I almost wonder too, because I know, we talk, sometimes we have like the actual like, light pollution, that are here, from like the lights that we've created here on Earth, where, if you're in the city, you're not really seeing a whole lot of stars, right? And the moon itself is supposedly, it's a huge reflective surface for the sun. Is it possible that it does create, that reflective surface creates light pollution where, like, I don't know, you were thinking like, yeah, I guess I didn't see stars.
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
That's
again,
just like,
but again, that's more of a technical thing. I don't like, because again, they're saying that they claim that the moon like is not a light source, right? And that it only reflects. And again, like, because the sun is like so far away that it takes 8 minutes for the light to come, and so that it hits. So you're saying that that it comes to hit the Earth, and so like it's supposedly not. So the moonlight shouldn't be a factor because it's less bright. It's not like it's not as though like the surface of the mirror is like or the surface of the moon is like a polished mirror.
Well, no, I know that, but I'm just saying, like, the actual lights that we have, like, the electrical light bulb, is also not as bright as the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, obviously, like
right, but there's that, but then again, I would say, or I would reason, it's like it's not as though there are like a million moons up there reflecting the light.
No, once again, I agree. I'm just saying that, like, on the actual moon. Now, let's say like they went to.
Well, no, because again, this is another thing. Because
they're just like floating through space.
Okay, but Michael Collins was asked, like, if he was able to see the stars from the capsule. And remember, Michael Collins didn't go down onto the moon. He stayed in the LEM.
Yeah, like I said, it's iffy. I'll just say that.
Okay. All right, but anyways, oh yeah, so
no, and like, so
okay, so the data tapes, the only time in history that technology went backwards, and then thirdly, why hasn't any other nation followed?
Yeah, you're right. Why didn't the Russians, like, yeah, okay, maybe they would have been second. Why didn't they? They could have easily gone to the moon. If they were chasing it.
Mm-hmm.
They had the same fucking scientists, or the same trained scientists that we did.
Mm-hmm. Right, and you're saying that, like, France couldn't, like, cobble together something, or or Great Britain.
No, I don't think they could have.
I mean, well, they supposedly have, nukes and ICBMs, but they couldn't, like, just gone that one step further to go to the moon.
No.
But they have nukes.
Do they though?
I know. Well, that's a topic for another day. But again, if they have the rocket technology for, ICBMs, why can't they just apply that to rockets to the moon? That's all I'm
just saying, like, it's just, yeah, like,
yeah, because I mean, what is like, because take a look at, just, as an example, just take a look at the, Age of Discovery, like Christopher Columbus, Magellan, you know, uh, on and on and on.
Well,
What if
yeah,
like
you're
what
right.
if Columbus? What if
One
Columbus
was
went?
like,
So like that's not what happens. Like every country in the world started building ships and sending them out and starting colonies and all that stuff.
you're
Why
right.
why why hasn't anyone else followed the United States to the moon? It's
I
not
don't
like what like there's no benefit for having like a research station up there, or there's no minerals or resources up on the moon that might be benefit to humanity.
Well, maybe there wasn't. I don't know, but like, yeah, that's the.
But
I'm
okay,
just,
not
I'm just
but there's not resources. You're telling me that there's no benefit of like studying uh, celestial bodies or phenomena from a place where there's no atmosphere to encumber their telescopes or any kind of sensors.
no. I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I'm not disagreeing
I
with
know,
you.
and of course I'm just I'm playing like the strong advocate for my own side.
Right, but what I'm saying is that you know a lot of the when the whole like space race was starting to go on, back in like the 50s, a lot of the sci-fi was like, oh, we're gonna have like colonies on the moon, and we're gonna do all this stuff, and the moon is not necessarily a place where life could be sustained. It's just a celestial body that
But
is
but
out
but
there.
we did, allegedly.
We did.
Yeah, we figured it out. That's what the lunar module is. It's a habitat. It's a stained life. So you're saying like no other country could figure that out. No other country could build rockets and send up their people to colonize the moon.
uh
You
I
know,
don't know.
it's
But like I said, you're right. You're right in a way where you would think that, yeah, okay, we did it first, but it should still be an important accomplishment that like other countries would follow.
exactly. I mean, because
Now,
it's never happened in human like because every age of discovery, there's always been like a country that falls. Yeah, like Italy, or Spain actually, Spain rather, just quote unquote discovered the new world through Christopher Columbus, and so England and France and Portugal, they're like, no, we don't need to go. Of course not. They all started building ships.
yeah. I know now, like the space race now is to go to Mars. That's
Allegedly.
that's kind of like what the big thing right now. Um, whether that happens or not, who knows? But yeah, it's just weird how those what it just that guy that is kind of like like the one of the main spokespeople for NASA, who's like one of the great experts, sounds like a fucking moron.
Yeah, he sounds like a retard. Like,
Maybe he's only
I'd go back to the moon in a nanosecond. That's literally how he sounds. I'm not even. You think I'm exaggerating? I'm not exaggerating.
Owen Benjamin did a hilarious thing where he like South Parkified.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's just like
The zodiac of lights. That's literally how he sounds. I am not exaggerating for effect here, people. That's literally how he sounds.
no, it's like, yeah. I mean, this is kind of like this topic is kind of like it's a little bit of a retread. We've talked about this
Yeah, we've
before,
talked
but
about this.
I'm just fascinated by this because I ended up bringing up like I asked these questions again to like somebody new who, and it's like, oh my god, you're right. Like, what it's like, why is that? And it's just like, exactly. It's weird. And I'm even saying like, I want this all to be true. Like, but the fact there's these questions that you ask, and there's some inconsistencies, and that nobody wants to answer. And when you ask them, people get upset. It's like, I'm on your side. I want this. I'm curious about this. Like, what happened? Like, what's okay? You taped over it. What's on those tapes? Like, is it one of the other moon landings? Like, you just kind of like you all the Apollo missions, they just kind of recorded over one another. Okay, I would love to see the Apollo 17 mission. I don't care if it's not the first one. It's still important. It's still a great human accomplishment. Actually, it's like, okay, well then what's on those tapes?
Right. Yeah. And exactly. It's like, and they don't, and now they don't even have the technology to play those
What
tapes.
does that even mean? We don't have the technology. Like, we have better technology than we did back in 1969. How do we not have the
I know. There's
technology?
literally like I can take floppy disks and take them to a store, and they'll transfer what's on those floppy disks to a fucking thumb drive.
Exactly. But and the better if you're gonna make excuses, it's like, what's hard now is that, because of all the satellites and the manned missions and stuff, we have a lot of space debris that is orbiting the Earth. It's hard to find those windows to get off of the planet. So it's much harder than it was back in 1969. That's a better excuse than like, we actually lost the technology. We can't recreate it. I'm just saying, like, come on. We don't have the technology.
Yeah. I mean, if
Doesn't
okay, if they come out tomorrow and answer all my questions to my satisfaction,
yeah,
then
I'm more than willing. Like,
yeah,
okay,
I'm willing to be like, okay, I was wrong then. But they
yeah,
haven't. They haven't. All they do is get, how dare you,
they get
you know?
upset.
And
And
and to the point of how, like you said, that your grandfather was someone that worked on, like worked with NASA or whatever. That's the story that again, Owen Benjamin point this out, like that's how they get everyone to be emotionally invested. It's like, oh, my grandfather, he was he
no,
worked in
but
the
like,
he worked in the factory that built that made the nuts that secured the hatch to the rovers. It's like,
no, and I'm not even like, it's not. I'm not emotionally invested. I think like,
right. But but that's like that. But that's how they get everyone to believe in the lie.
yeah,
Because they get them emotionally.
it's like what he was doing was, he was building the whatever, like the satellites that were testing the cosmic radiation to see if it was even like possible to get off the Earth. For man to get off the Earth, which is also kind of that's another story. That's another question for another day.
Right. I mean,
Uh,
just wait. Yeah. I mean, just wait till you get to the Van Allen belt.
that's um, which is a very interesting question.
Right. 'Cause I
But
mean, yeah. If there is like all this cosmic radiation or whatever, how is it that you know the astronauts, let's say that they were able to get beyond the Van Allen belt. How is it that they weren't just like instantly microwaved and died?
yeah, and but like my grandfather was building the satellites that were being launched to test that stuff, which is kind of cool. It's still cool. Um, the other thing that people don't tell you, the International Space Station is actually not in space.
Yeah, it's in lower Earth orbit,
Yeah, it's still within, like,
allegedly.
is it like, it's like, it's that in between area of, like, it's in space, but it's not in space. It's kind of like it's still floating out there, but it's not actually like just floating out in the middle of space that people like go to. But that,
Allegedly.
they don't tell you that because it sounds cool. The International Space Station,
Yeah. Allegedly.
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 It just, I just find it like these are just people who, like, for me, I'm a guy that wants to believe this. but at the same time, I find it very weird that people get upset when you ask questions, and you're out of curiosity. I'm curious. I want to know, but when the experts that be get upset when you ask those questions, little suspect. It
It
raises my
sucks. It
antenna just a
sucks.
little bit.
Right. I mean, yeah, and it's just as and I can't believe I'm quoting a football player, but Aaron Rodgers, he said like, what is it? Science that you can't question isn't science; it's propaganda.
He's right.
He's right, and he's 100% right.
I've gained a lot more respect for Aaron Rodgers in the last couple of years.
Me too.
He's had a few where one of those great he makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think he's probably secretly somewhat of a conservative in some ways.
Yeah. Or he's just an independent thinker.
Even better. Even better.
Yeah, and that's like really all that I'm looking for. It's you don't have to adhere to everything that I think or believe. It's just
Well, even you and I, we don't agree all the time.
No,
I mean, it seems like we do, but in a lot of ways, there's things that you're like, I'm not 100% in your court. This would be one of those. I'm not there. I'm not 100% in your court, but at the same time, you bring up good questions, good points, and it's like, so I'm kind of in this weird middle area. I want to believe this one thing, but the questions at the same time lead to an interesting discussion that nobody wants to have.
Nope, nobody.
And like you said, a lot of the people that are so invested is oh, well, my grandfather and I was alive during that time, and it was a big accomplishment for the United States. It's I'm not disagreeing with you in a lot emotionally, but it's just
all you have to do is say did you go to the moon?
Detach yourself emotionally and just ask the questions. When if there's legitimate answers, like I said, if someone can answer those questions, okay, yeah, it is true. We did tape over the initial moon landing, but we recorded all the other we kind of we didn't have enough equipment, so we recorded over the original with the other moon landings that we did. Okay, great. Oh, here's the data. Okay, cool. The other idea of the other questions, if we actually had some the idea, the one thing is what so what about it, what technology that did we have in 1969 that can't be recreated? I don't understand that. That's weird to me.
Right, and it's the weird thing is we can't recreate it. It's have you never heard of restoring a car?
Yeah, exactly.
It's you not think that people can restore old cars?
That to me, of all the questions that are available, that's the weirdest one. You're telling me you can't recreate the technology from 1969, and that was the only technology that was available that got us to the moon? Give me a
well, that's the only technology capable of getting us back to the moon. There's no way that we could refine it or modernize and make things better.
Yeah, it's just that to me is the weirdest one. The other ones I think do have some potential explanations. That one is just fucking weird to me.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say, okay, but the funding one, that's complete bullshit. It's they're the annual back then the annual NASA budget was $70 billion. You're saying that still wasn't enough to buy more fucking tapes or
like I
whatever.
said, I'm just saying that like it's a it's a potential solution to that question. I'm just saying.
Right, but again, it's like they still haven't even showed us the telemetry tapes. Like even like through all of the lies, it's like, oh yeah, like we have the tapes. You want to see the tapes? We'll show you the tapes anytime you want. It's like, all right, show me the tapes. It's like, oh no, actually we lost them. It's like you lost them. It's like, oh no, actually, you know what? Some intern, found them at a garage sale and bought them for $20. It's like, oh, where's that intern? So I can go look at it. Oh, I don't know. It's like Putin.
Putin's price hike.
Yeah, Putin's price hike.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's like I said, it's just some interesting. It's an interesting thought exercise. Not because we don't want it to have happened. I think we all do, but at the same time, we have to. And I'm not saying like Stanley Kubrick. He videotaped the actual moon landing in his studio and like all blah blah blah. I'm not. No, I'm not saying that.
That brings me to. Okay, I don't know if you remember, but MythBusters, that old TV show that took like, movie, movie scene.
I know MythBusters.
Yeah.
I love the show.
Right. Well, just for those people who may not remember. But they, took urban legends and like scenes from like movies and like, try to like recreate them, or they applied science to try and like either prove that it could happen or disprove it. But anyways, they had a whole moon landing special. And wouldn't you know that they proved every single one of the things as plausible. And one of the funniest ones to me was a photograph of one of the astronauts, like that was in like the shadow of the lunar lander. And they're saying like, oh, there's no way that that could happen, because if they're like up in the moon and there's like no like atmosphere and it was just like straight sun, then the astronaut will be in complete like perfect shadow, and like because the astronaut was in shadow, but the astronaut was still kind of lit up, right? And they're saying like, oh no, that was like someone was there standing with like a bounce card to like take the light and like from like a studio light and then bounce it back onto the person to fill it to make them be seen. And they did, of course, because they can't go up to the moon or whatever, so they built a set, in their shop and like in miniature, and they supposedly proved that it was possible that the moon dust or whatever was reflective enough to act as a bounce card to get more light into the shadows, and so that to make that shot possible. But again, it's like what is it? And of course, they did like the whole like shadows not lining up, because if it was like from one source, then all the shadows would be parallel, and they supposedly proved that it was they proved that it was from one source. But I just thought it was funny that like they build like a miniature. It's like in like their studio like shop or whatever.
Right.
And like prove like, oh yeah, of course, it works that way. It's like, okay.
They probably just recreated what Stanley Kubrick did.
Exactly. I mean, but if you have any questions, like everyone knows that shot of like when the lunar module like separates from the lander and like goes back up to the main capsule, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you go back and look at that footage, the camera tilts up.
Yeah.
How is that possible? If all the astronauts are in that lander, and it shoots up, how does the camera tilt up to catch that awesome scene of the lander going up into the up into the sky, or up into space? Again, it's just a question. It's just a question. I'm not making any implications. I'm just asking a question.
Don't know.
But yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to ask questions, I guess, is the lesson of the day.
And we're not just each other. I'm just asking questions.
Just asking questions.
But I'm just saying, like, when you do ask certain questions, just out of curiosity, and people get upset, that should raise your dander a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right, that should be like a little part of your mind going,
Because I get that, like, when I was like, I'm a little curious of, like, I don't think Adolf Hitler died in 45. Like, the skull that they found,
it didn't have a little mustache on it.
Russians turned out not to be him, and the documents that were released, back, a couple of years, a number of years ago, showed that they were working with, not only like Adolf Hitler, but like a lot of like the high level Nazis, tracking communists, and then that kind of went away. Like I don't know if they reclassified them or whatever, because it's just like, because I can't find that anymore. Like because that came out initially, and now it's just gone. Like I can't find it again. So it's like, am I? Is this the my Mandela effect? Like where I'm just like I'm kind of like being driven crazy.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, yeah. I mean, to think about it, it's kind of weird that Hitler would go out like such a bitch, in a bunker, killing himself.
Murder suicide.
Yeah, murder suicide.
It just I don't see it. I'm sorry, because there were so many different escape plans. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, again, people get really emotional, or are really emotionally invested. But it's like, a society that is so meticulous as to its record keeping, and there's no record of an order with Hitler's signature on it saying, "Kill the Jews."
Plus, there were designs for if the Third Reich failed, there was a Fourth Reich ready to go again.
Right? Yeah, Hitler. Yeah, Hitler had. He had a vision. He had like this. He had like kind of like Capitol Hill, but like in Germany with a big dome. Ready to go.
I will say that while I'm not a fan of the Nazis, their architecture beautiful.
Yeah, and again, not necessarily agreeing with their ideology, but the German army uniform. It's really a handsome uniform.
Yeah, the uniform was handsome and the architecture was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. That's all we're saying. That's all we're saying. We appreciate the aesthetic.
Evil people can be artistic as well.
Evil people can have an aesthetic. That's all we're saying. But
why don't we get to this movie review?
Yeah,
Unless there's anything else you have to say.
Yeah, let's wrap it up with our movie review.
You give the synopsis and we'll finish up.
All right, here we go. Just to remind you all, tonight's movie review is we'll be reviewing the movie Friday, of course, starring Ice Cube and Chris Tucker, John Witherspoon, Nia Long, then still unknown Regina King, Tommy Lister Jr. This movie came out in 1995. It was written by Ice Cube and DJ Pooh. Released through New Line. or distributed by Luna. All right, it's Friday, and Craig Jones has just gotten fired for stealing cardboard boxes. To make matters worse, rent is due. He hates his overbearing girlfriend, Joy, and his best friend Smokey owes the local drug dealer money, and that's all before lunch. As hours drag on, Jones and Smokey experience the gamut of urban life, complete with crackheads, shootouts, and overly sexual pastors, concentrated in one single unbelievable Friday.
This movie actually really impressed me a lot. Like I've been a fan of Friday from the very beginning. I thought it was hilarious. We did Clerks a number about a year ago.
About yeah.
Yeah, this is the black version of Clerks.
I never thought of it that way, but you're right.
It is, and the one thing that I was actually really impressed by, because Ice Cube is actually the writer for this. One of the writers. He was kind of like
right. He wrote it along with DJ Pooh.
Yeah, and the reason that they created this movie, one, because Ice Cube was like, I've been doing music, and it's like I obviously I write my own stuff, and like this is just like the next step. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, and Ice Cube's been in movies. I mean, he was in Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, but like this is his first actual. He didn't write that. He was just acting.
Right. But he does have acting experience, and so
yeah.
He
also did not like him and his co-writer did not like the portrayal of the hood, in film, and he wanted to create like a story where it's like kind of recreating stuff that he remembers from his childhood, like the stories from where he grew up, and it's like the hood is not just like where people are shooting each other and all that stuff. Like there's some crazy characters, but there's
still it's just where people live.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, you know what? I actually like that. Because if you think about it, this is now I have not watched the sequels. I've only watched this one. But I have to say, like, I really like that. And this is that peak time where, a lot of people love this movie. And this is like, this is where we had Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We had Family Matters. We had all this, like, In Living Color. We had
Parenthood.
Parenthood.
We had Wayans Brothers.
The Wayans Brothers. I think with the Wayans Brothers, it was the dad from Friday was in that.
Yeah. He played the dad in the Wayans Brothers.
Yeah, so it's just like there's all these like great like black centric shows. No one's like thinking like we were not that there was no racism, but like it was pretty much done.
It was definitely racism like in the 90s was like on its last legs.
Yeah,
like seriously, it was.
And even like, can you name one moment in the film that like, okay, yeah, maybe they're not living in like the best neighborhood? Was there one white person that was blamed for their struggles or anything?
Yeah, no. Like Craig, like when he got fired from his job, he didn't go like, "Oh man, the white man's trying to keep me down," or "This is all invention of the white man."
And none of his family, none of his friends said that. And they made fun of him. It's like, how the fuck do you get fired on your day off?
Because if you guys, for those of you who didn't know, supposedly he was caught on camera on his day off at his job, like I think he's a UPS driver or something, and he was like stealing cardboard boxes.
And like his friend, like later on, like who also worked with him. It's like, we watched the video, like we were making fun of your ass.
It's like, we can't see your face, but from the back, kind of looks like you.
Which is like, it's there's not one moment in this film that there is zero racism in this film at all.
No, I mean,
Like,
or there's no, no. You know what it is? There's no victim mentality.
there's no victim mentality. There's no exploitation in this film
Mm-hmm.
either.
Mm-hmm.
That's rare.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it's like, and I mean, other than their skin color, they, you know, they're pretty much like kind of like almost archetypal uh, characters as you would possibly find in a white neighborhood.
Oh yeah, like I said, this is Clerks.
You know,
This is the same fucking thing in a lot of ways. Like, Clerks is in like this random small ass town, this small port town in New Jersey, with these white guys who they're not unemployed, but like they might as well be.
right. I mean, the way they don't have the greatest work ethic. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, like you had Stan, the kind of like uppity neighbor who like always telling kids like stay off his grass.
Yeah.
You had like the
As a
little,
Corvette,
you had
as
the
a
little,
Corvette.
you had the little troublemaker kid Chris, like that would knock over people's garbage cans.
Yeah.
You had like the really hot neighbor lady that would totally dress inappropriately.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like these are archetypal. These aren't just characters that you would find exclusively in the hood. It's like these are
No.
people that these are types you'd find in any neighborhood,
Yeah.
regardless of the race.
That like that Ice Cube, like he said when he was writing this, like we just drew on people that we knew from our neighborhood, like growing up, like are they the same exact person? It's like no, but like these are the people, like like the dad in Friday, like it's like yeah, that was my dad. Like he would he was taking a shit in the bathroom, and like he would always want to have a conversation about something. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's like, which is gross, but it's like yeah, that's how it was. It's
Mm-hmm.
we had this this big bully that would like take our lunch money and like take stuff from us, and Debo seems like this like kind of like crazy mythical figure, and when you're a young kid, a bully that's bigger than you, of course
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
gonna
of
be
course of
very
course you
superior.
envision him as a giant.
Exactly, and so yeah, like it's playing off those archetypes, like I am just blown away, and and there were like some in all these neighborhoods, there's bad figures that are involved, like the most evil person in the actual movie is Big Worm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
He's the only one that actually enacts real violence
mm-hmm.
and is actually doing stuff that is actually hurting the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But yeah, it just like I feel like there's a great all around. Yeah, is it funny? Absolutely. I laugh my ass off every time I watch this.
Right.
But like this movie is not only is it funny, but it does have a good solid message that I wish like that more people would watch today.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and not even just like the overt message, like how like because we're this month is about fathers and father figures, and like Craig has a dad living at home, and you kind of see um, the benefits of that because
Think about
You have Smokey who who's Craig's friend and neighbor, and like where's his father? Nowhere. And now like look at the trouble that Smokey gets into because of the lack of a positive male role model in his life.
Craig is the only one that seems to have a dad in the
Yeah,
entire
in the entire neighborhood.
Can you imagine if Craig did not have a dad? How horrible this movie would have been. This would have been a tragedy
Mm-hmm.
because
Absolutely.
Craig would probably be dead.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, and it's, like we're never told how Craig gets the gun, but but that doesn't really matter because he has the gun. And when his father uh, goes to see him and he sees the gun, like he doesn't get mad at Craig. He beats he's his father, and he says like you don't need that gun. Guns is how you lose. I mean,
Yeah.
not in that like not in like that anti-gun like oh no one should have guns kind of way, but it's like it's kind of it's like in the Bible it's like live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah, it's funny because the entire, because obviously it's a comedy, but like, in reality, we're seeing everything through Craig's eyes. Craig is
Yeah, he's
our
the narrator.
yeah, he's like, we're watching everything through his eyes,
Hmm.
through his perspective, and so his dad looks like, and I think this is true for any son for throughout time, where it's like sometimes we look at our fathers like, God, our dad is such a fucking weirdo. Like, he
Hmm.
does weird things, he says weird things, he's so embarrassing.
Hmm.
And like, his dad is so embarrassing. Like, don't come in the bathroom for another 35, 45
45
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or like,
or yeah, like how you were saying,
or,
like having conversations while he's on the can.
yeah, or like, it's like, hey, don't slam my door.
Yeah, or chastising him for like always eating all the food.
Yeah, it's like, the key word is job.
Yeah.
Job. I love that whole scene is just pure gold. It's
Yeah.
like, it's stuff like that where it's like, what the fuck? Like, I literally just got fired. Yes, like on my day off, I got fired like this morning. Like, I wasn't even fucking there.
Hmm.
It's like, and you're already telling me like the key word for today is job, job. Like, get off my ass. And so I can totally understand that. And yet, at those key moments where like he Craig is trying to protect his best friend, Smokey. Like, he does care about him, even though
Hmm.
his friend is a fuck up.
Hmm.
Um, the he's like, hey, why do you have that? Like, you don't need that. That's not how men solve their problems. This is how, this is how you solve your problem. Like, yeah, you might take a beating, but you fight to live another day.
Hmm.
It's like you
Yeah,
and
you'll
you
live to
win.
fight another day.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some, but you don't lose your life. Like, you ultimately win.
Hmm. Exactly, and I mean, yeah, and again, like you see the power of just like just having a father there, because like what if it was like what if he was like a little bit more of a hard ass. That's still a benefit to Greg.
Yeah, exactly. But I love the fact that his dad was so understanding and compassionate at the same time.
Hmm.
But he was, yeah, he in a way he was kind of a hard ass, but
Hmm.
not really. Like, he actually does care about his son and like what
Right.
happens to him.
Yeah, and then yeah, and again, it's like yeah, he's kind of goofy, like when he's when the stakes are low. That's what it is. When the stakes are low, he's like the kind of like goofy dad that we all have, who like embarrasses us and is a little bit overbearing. But when it like really really matters, his father was there for him and like laid down like wisdom to his son.
Exactly.
And so and that's the and that should and that's all fathers.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know how the sequels play out. I don't know if I'm ever gonna watch the sequels, but like this one in particular, I'm just like, wow, this is. I don't know if that was maybe it was intended. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was. Um, but you would not see a lot of this in movies today at all,
No.
especially like when it comes to like black cinema.
Hmm.
Like, this
Hmm.
this really should be viewed by the current generation.
Oh yes, absolutely. I never watched them, but there were a bunch of like those like kind of race baity movies. Like one was called like The Hate That You Give, and it was about like a black kid that gets gunned down by like a cop or whatever, and so like
Right.
and then another one was called I know the titles of it, but I never seen the movies. But it's like Slim and Queen. It's about like you know this black couple who on their first date get pulled over by a cop, and and again because like the cop is being like overbearing or whatever, like they have to resist. And I think like I think they end up killing him, but like it was kind of like because it was like a struggle, because the guy was like resisting arrest, and they have to go on they go on the lam, like Bonnie and Clyde, and or like a little bit more like Thelma and Louise, and they become like these folk heroes to like the black people, and it's just like
God.
yeah, I know, but it's like
I think of because there's a great episode of Fresh Prince of Bel Air like where Will and Carlton get arrested. Like
mhm.
while they're driving, like they get pulled over by the police and they get arrested for
Oh
yeah the
yeah, I
cop.
remember this episode. Yeah, it's what is it? Uncle Phil and like his law firm partner, like they have like this weekend out in uh, Palm Springs,
Right.
and then what is it? Uh, I think Will's trying to like make money for something, and so he kind of like tries to get the partner to hire him to drive his car to Palm Springs for him, but
Yeah.
he ends up asking Carlton, and then on their way uh, to Palm Springs, Will stows away in the car, and then they're pulled over in like this really in a Mercedes, and in the middle of nowhere, like in between Bel Air and Palm Springs, and so kind of like the
Right.
implication, backwater, like sheriffs, racist, and whatever.
Right. But they don't resist, and obviously they're in jail, and Uncle Phil like raises like hell, like because like they were wrongly arrested.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that they did anything wrong, but that's the thing. It's like that would not be the message today. Like, yeah, it would be more Slim and Queen, like reality. It's like, no, that's stupid. That's how you die.
Mm-hmm.
No, like I said, it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter your skin color. If I did that, I would probably be dead.
Right. I mean, I don't know why, but I don't know like what got into people's heads nowadays where they think they have to address things like right then and there,
No,
because it's
you're
like
not. No,
no,
that's
in that situation, like or that's not the time to address that situation. The time to address the situation is in court.
exactly. That's where
Okay.
it's like it doesn't matter if it's like you're okay. If you feel like you're being wrongly arrested, okay, fine. All right, I'll go. And then like
Yeah.
you
Get a
get
name.
out
Get a
of
badge
court,
number.
or if you end up getting a ticket, it's like okay, no problem, I'll sign for it, and then you fight it in court. If you resist, you're more likely gonna lose that battle. Like especially like just in the case of just like a traffic ticket. Like okay, they're saying I was speeding, but I know I was not. But if you cause a huge raising hell, what court case that officer is going to be going to? That one. Because they're going to make sure that you pay for that, and they'll remember you. It's like but if you're just like you don't raise a stink, but like it's like they're probably not gonna be like whatever. And then you go into court, it's like, hey, I was told I was going this speed, but like I'm not going that speed. Like it's not possible. Like I'm behind a guy that was going less than the speed limit. How am I speeding? It's like
Right. Or or you can be smart
And if the
about it.
cop's not there to back that up,
Yeah. Or you
you're
can be smart about it, and there are like a buddy of mine. He successfully argued a speeding ticket because everyone thinks that cops don't get paid to show up at court over like speeding tickets. They do.
they do.
But what they don't do is get paid. They don't get paid for doing extra work on top of that. So if you go and fight that ticket and say like, and especially if they use like what is it, one of those speed guns, you
Hmm.
tell them it's like, oh, like what, when was that speed gun last calibrated, or or you get them to like, oh, what's the survey on that street that I was traveling on? Is it like, is it, when was it recently paved? This, is there like a survey that says like there's like more of an incline going one way or the other, and you make that cop have to do extra work, then that's how
They're not
you
gonna
win a
do it.
case.
Exactly.
And that's how my friend actually won his case against a speeding ticket, because he made the cop do extra work, and he utilized all those, like, oh, when was the speed gun calibrated? I want to get a report on that street, like, are there instant is there something about that street that makes that cars travel faster, or when's the last time it was paved? Do people try to get past that street more quickly than other parts of the street? You know, and he, and so
Exactly.
And so yeah, so it's like the time to fight a cop is not in the street.
Afterwards.
It's in the courtroom.
Exactly. And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you know,
And
hey,
so
but we that and that's where like I think our media is so dangerous, because they're telling us like, oh, you need to fight, you need to resist. Like, well, it's like, no, I'm not saying that like there is a place and time for that, but that in those moments where your life could be in the line, no, don't do it then, dummy.
right, and oh yeah, and like the implication that that the talk about how to interact with a police officer is exclusively a black thing. Like, no, it's not. My,
Is there ever a moment in that film where the talk happens?
no, of course not.
No.
No, but yeah, it's like, no, because my dad, he gave me the talk too. It's like, oh, when the cop comes, just say, just just follow his instructions.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had that too. It's like, hey, if you get pulled over, just be respectful. It's like, hey, if they you ask questions, like, okay, I don't feel that that was right, but okay, if you say that that's what happened, like, okay, and
Yeah,
you just accept, you just take it.
yeah, cooperate, and like if and then like and if the cop like legitimately does something over the line, then yeah, you get his name, you get his badge number, and you deal with it later.
It's like, okay, that's that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like, yeah, because like there's like all like these like news articles or news segments where like, oh, as a black man, I have to give the talk to my to my kid about like how to deal with like a police officer. It's like, yeah, I got that same talk. It's like, it's not unique to the
And
black.
I'm a white
It's
person. I
not
got
unique
the
to
same
the
talk
black
too.
community.
Yeah, it's not exclusive to any community. It's exclusive to like just the community in general. Because guess what? There are, yeah, there are bad cops. I'm not saying that there aren't, but like it's not a race thing.
Right.
It's really not.
But yeah, getting back to the movie though. Yeah, and of course, like Craig utilizes his father's sage advice. Especially at the end. When what is it? Debo, who again, he's kind of, again, he's a neighborhood bully, and he beats a woman, and the sister gets like all up in his face, and he lays hands on the sister, and that's when Craig steps in, and he's pretty much like he's all but challenged to a fight, and he draws his gun, and there's at that moment there's that moment where he kind of reflects on what his dad's told him.
Well, and I love the actor who played Debo.
Oh
Tiny
yeah,
Lister.
he's so good.
What did he
Interestingly
do with
enough,
that
yeah,
gun other than piss me off? It's like,
right.
whoa, that's fucking scary.
Yeah, that is
That
scary.
guy's fucking scary.
Uh-huh.
The similar to like when we did just a quick aside, like similar to like when we our review of Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, which is coming out next week, where that was everyone's first movie. Same thing here. This is really the first movie for like a lot of people. They did not get paid a lot at all. Almost like I think everyone got paid like right around like a couple $1,000s each, pretty much.
Oh yeah,
Depending
that,
on.
that the interview that you sent me of John Witherspoon said that like yeah, everyone got $5,000,
Yeah, it's
um,
like, which is nothing.
which is nothing. And like again, because what is it? The movie was made for 2 million, and then they made the movie at the box office did 300 million. And they
Yeah,
did, and they didn't get no bonuses. All right,
no,
they didn't get no retroactive payments like, oh, like good job guys, here's a little extra. No, that didn't happen.
nope. I mean, I think like Ice Cube probably made a little bit more money, and he actually ended up losing money because he wanted to front. He had the money. He was going to front all the money to begin with, so
Hmm.
he had more rights to it.
Hmm.
And New Line Cinema ended up talking him out of it because I think they knew what they had on their hands. Like, no, 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 you don't want to risk that $2 million. We'll take the hit. And it's like they kind of fucked him
Yeah,
in.
I mean, yeah, I think Ice Cube still holds like ownership of the IP Friday, but yeah, they
Right.
like and no, but he still did okay because I think what was it? John Witherspoon said that Ice Cube's production company handled like all of the shooting and stuff. So he so
Yeah,
he
so I
did
mean,
so
it's not like he made like he lost. He still lost money in a
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think he still owns like the intellectual property of Friday.
Yeah, because I watched the interview with like John Witherspoon, and I also watched the interview with Tiny Lister too. And there, he was being asked like, do you get like annoyed when people like they always recognize you as Devo? It's like, hell no. I'm so happy that people like remember me from like this movie from like 20 years ago. That's fucking great.
Right.
Um,
It's kind of like the Jack Sparrow thing,
yeah,
where like that one guy's trying to like, insult him. It's like he's like, you're probably the worst pirate I ever heard of. It's like, but you have heard of me.
yeah, exactly. But it's just like it's funny how like
Yeah.
just this like little tiny production from these people, like where it's like it's just all these like little great interactions between characters. Like
Hmm.
you have the sexy neighbor who is married but like she's having an affair, and like,
Hmm.
or at least like maybe we don't know the full extent of what's going on,
Hmm.
but like the like from the perspective of the neighborhood, like she's kind of like the whore of the neighborhood,
Hmm.
who has like a midget husband who's fucking the religious, the pastor of the neighborhood.
Hmm.
You have like the giant, larger than life bully that's like, you know oh,
Oh, in the if you didn't catch it, but in the flashback where he's telling about the story of like Red and like how he got his got knocked the fuck out.
yeah,
The henchman that he tells to watch his money, that's Michael Clark Duncan.
no way,
Yeah.
that's Michael. Oh my, I gotta go back and watch it again. I missed that totally.
Yeah, that's Michael Clark Duncan.
No way.
Yeah, I mean it's really quick, but
It's so small. I totally missed that.
yeah,
You got knocked the fuck out.
yeah. Oh man, oh yeah, this came out in '95. Oh man, it was so funny. quoting this movie all the time. Not like at school with my friends all the time.
It's or like Smokey, he's trying to get hooked up with like with one of the girl that Craig likes. He's like, you got a friend for me, and it's like, yeah, yeah, it's like you got this like this not this I know a girl, I got her number. Why don't you call her? And it's like, and she's one of those girls like where she has a really like cute voice. It's like, yeah, my friends tell me I look like Janet Jackson. I got long hair. I'm 5'2", and he's like, oh, Janet Jackson, awesome. And when it comes time for them to meet, she's just like this large woman who does not have long hair. She has almost no hair, and it's just like the complete opposite of what like Smokey is looking for. It's like, and he confronts the girl about it later on. It's like, she said she told me she looked like Janet Jackson. It's like she looked like more like Freddie Jackson. It's and she's like, no, she didn't say that. Oh my god! And she's like laughing at him. It's like this great scene between them. It's just so funny. You also have I'm trying to think like some of the other scenes I really liked. Because Craig is like Craig has this crazy girlfriend who is always like super jealous, like that thinks like any woman that he is even like around, he's like trying to cheat on her with, and she just has like these ridiculous nails.
Yeah, yeah. Who the fuck is that bitch?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like,
Yeah. Oh, Joy. Yeah, I love Joy. You don't got to lie, Craig.
yeah, it's so great. It's so
I know
great.
it's so perfect. Oh my god.
And everyone can relate to that. That crazy girlfriend that your friend has
Mm-hmm.
that is just completely insane.
Right? Like completely
Then
wrong for yeah.
yeah, it's just so it's great.
Yeah, like
And
literally, it's like literally any like woman, like what was it? Felicia, like she comes in like kind of butts in on Craig and Joy's conversation, and then like when Craig like shoos her away, it's like, who the fuck was that bitch?
it's like after like he literally just got telling, it's like, no, there's nothing going on. Like I haven't done anything with anybody. It's like, I know, I'm sorry. Like, you just gotta keep reminding me, babe.
Yeah,
Who
no.
the fuck is that? Oh, it's just like,
Oh.
of course. This is one of those things like, yeah, I'm not a black guy, but I totally relate to a lot of these characters because like I've known people like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Again, like, yeah, the characters in this movie, they're not they're not racially or geographically specific. These are archetypes. Um, and so of course, like we can all relate to them. We've all had that crazy girlfriend who's like convinced that you're cheating on her, and you have like the kind of like the slacker friend, or you have like the
The bully,
the
you have
bully, and like of
you
course we
have
all had
the
like that one friend's mom that we all had the hots for.
yeah, or
Um,
like the guy in the neighborhood that's like is definitely like on some sort of drugs who's like just kind of like he's the crackhead of the
oh yeah,
neighborhood like
Ezel. Oh, my favorite. One of my favorite scenes when they go to the convenience store, and then like he fakes a slip and fall,
yeah,
and it's like, oh, my back, my back, my back, and then like the
my
store
neck
like
and my neck.
I was like, and it's like my back, my neck, oh, my back and my neck.
Yeah, I
But
want
it's like
$150,000, but I'll settle for 20 out of court.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and also like there's a sign that says black owned. It was like a small little Asian man.
Yeah, I also loved how like also like right around like the on that black like next to the black owned sign was like the Budweiser sign that they had
Uh
was
huh.
That was actually an old Budweiser sign. That was a NASCAR Budweiser sign with Bill Elliott and the Junior Johnson Budweiser car. I
Mm.
noticed that like that it was a NASCAR Budweiser themed sign. It's
Hmm.
very like you barely catch
Oh,
it,
with
but
like the kind of like the digital numbers.
no, it was above the black owned sign, like the sign
Oh,
that said
oh,
black
okay,
owned.
yeah, okay.
It was a placard. It was an advertisement. It's like, oh, it was like that's a NASCAR Budweiser sign. I was like, that's cool.
Hmm. Yeah, no, this movie is so good.
I'm just like yeah, all the characters are well written. You know, there's no small parts in this film. Like, yeah,
No, no,
there's
not at all. Yeah, like even like that fat Janet Jackson girl, she gets the spotlight for a little bit.
you know
Um,
Freddie Jackson.
yeah, Freddie Jackson. What is it? Oh, apparently, because I was looking through the cast list, and a very young Megan Good is in the crowd of kids. When Big Worm comes up
Oh,
into on his ice cream truck.
yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't know that was her. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, and it's like even like yeah, like the mom she gets to shine too. Even in like the short like scenes that she's in, where it's like when she's cooking breakfast and then Craig's like, "Where's mine?" It's like, "Oh, I didn't say I was cooking for you."
Yeah, because he got so excited. It's like, oh yeah, I'm cooking some eggs and bacon and sausage and
Yeah.
pork chops. Like, oh yeah, because they had no milk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like they sit down. It's like, I thought you were making something for me. It's like, no, I made it for me. I didn't make anything for you. It's like, oh shit. Like, have some cereal. It's like, we ain't
We ain't
got
got
no
no
milk.
milk. It's like just use water.
Ew. That
Yeah.
is like
Or just,
no.
yeah, or like how or like her interaction with Miss Parker, like talking all this shit. It's like, oh, look at her dressed that way. Like,
Fucking
and then, but then, doing like it's kind of like doing the Southern thing where it's like you're still friendly. It's like, oh, hey, girl.
Yeah, it's like, we all have been in neighborhoods like this.
Yes, exactly. Oh
I
man.
I just I love the movie overall. It is absolutely hilarious. I laugh my ass off every time I watch it. I don't grow tired of
Yeah.
it at
I
all.
mean, to this day, I'm still quoting this movie.
I quote this movie all the fucking time.
I know. Yeah, like you go out with a friend and they drink too much and they pass out. And you're over them like screaming, "You got knocked the
Yeah,
fuck
knock
out!"
the fuck out.
Right? Or a friend is giving you a bullshit answer and it's just like, "You don't got to
Bye,
lie,
Felicia.
Craig."
Yeah, bye, Felicia.
Yeah, bye, Felicia. Or like, you take a massive dookie and you come out there, you're like, it's like no one going in there for 45 minutes.
Exactly. And so you have all the quotable lines. It's hilarious, but at the same time, it has this really wholesome message to the whole thing,
Mhm.
underlying underneath it. And to be honest, I think that's totally by design. I think that's exactly what Ice Cube wanted to put out there,
Right.
which makes me think that I actually do respect the guy for that.
Hmm.
I don't know if he would necessarily have the same feelings today,
Hmm.
but he did put that message out there back in 1995.
Hmm. Right.
I can't say that I have followed the entire career of Ice Cube,
Hmm.
but yeah, this in this movie at this time, this is the message that he was wanting to put out in the world.
Hmm.
It's important to have a dad in the house. It's
Right.
important that the hood is not necessarily like this scary, dangerous
Right.
place.
Yeah. The hood is not a war zone.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
it
don't
can be, but it's mostly filled with just people.
crazy people. Don't get me wrong; they all have their own things going on, but they're not evil, terrible people.
Hmm.
And it's like a lot. And when you get out of that situation, you reflect back on it. It's like You know, that's fucking hilarious. Like these people are crazy, but like you kind of like look back, it's like, you know what? They're not so bad. And
Indeed.
I think they create a beautiful message in this film, and I absolutely love it. I like I said, you know, I compare it to Clerks, not because like I'm trying to downplay anything that Friday is doing or that,
Mhm.
you know, whatever Clerks is doing. I do
Mhm.
that out of respect because I think they're reflecting the same message in different ways.
Okay.
Yeah, because think about it, like the Clerks neighborhood, like where they're at, it's the same fucking neighborhood as Friday. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that same neighborhood is a white
you're
neighborhood.
right. Yeah, like you might have a few characters like kind of like mashed together. Cause like what is it? Jay is totally Smokey and that annoying kid that knocks over everyone's trash can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah. But yeah, you're right. The neighborhood, yeah, it's not like the neighborhood in Clerks isn't like the best neighborhood in the world. Um,
No, it's a piece of shit. But like
it's a rundown piece of shit where like people like stick like people stick gum in the locks of the convenience store.
so yeah, like I said, that's why like and I say that I make that comparison out of respect. It's they're telling, although the story is the theme is the same. It's just like, you know, but the stories are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And like when people start realizing that, like you realize like, oh, you know what, like yeah, we grew up in different neighborhoods, we have a different skin color, but we're essentially the fucking same.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, this movie is great. I love it. This is like I said, just like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Like this is just one of those things. This is a movie that like just it was low budget. That just everything just worked perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And you had these, you know, like the one you know, because the big star in this film was obviously Ice Cube because he was already big at that time as a rapper. But
Mm-hmm.
this movie, like this is like where you saw a superstar, you know, really come about. Chris Tucker blew up after this movie, and everyone, all the actors realized like we are so lucky to have this guy because he's on his way to stardom. Because right after this, there's Rush Hour,
Mm-hmm.
there's all this shit that he did. And it's like, you know, because everyone asks like, why didn't Chris Tucker come back to the sequels? It's like, why would he come back to the sequels when he's getting paid $20 million, you know, to do these other movies? It's like
Yeah, it's
I
making
wouldn't
that
come
Jackie
back
Chan
either.
money.
Yeah, I wouldn't come back to those movies either. Of course not. And it's like, and no one's upset at Chris Tucker. It's like I'm glad he did what he did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like of course he's not going to come back. You know, to this like
Mm-hmm.
little production.
Right.
You know, it's like we're lucky that we had him for the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the entirety of the second one, but yeah, they do kind of stray away from like the winning recipe.
Yeah, like I said, I've heard it like it's definitely more, you know, comedic in a lot of ways, but it just doesn't
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
same.
it's like it's more comedic and it became like a little bit more commercialized.
Yeah, it's just like this movie's perfect for me. Like I that's why like it's the best one. I don't know if I ever even want to watch the sequels, to be honest.
Mm, right. Yeah. I mean, I admittedly haven't even watched like the entirety of the second one. So yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if you have anything else you want to share about the movie, but
No.
I'm ready to give my rating.
Yeah. I'm no. I have nothing else to add. So let's give our rating and we'll wrap it up.
You know, I think similar to Clerks, this is a 5-star movie for me. This is it's a great comedy that has a great message that is just perfect, rewatchable in every sense of the um, in every way. It's quotable, perfect movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I initially was gonna give it a 4, and the only ding is was Chris Tucker's sometimes over the top performance. Um, but I'm gonna line up with you and give it a 5 because even despite his over the top performance, it's
Oh,
still a
see,
good
I don't.
movie.
I totally disagree. I think he yes, is he a crazy character? Absolutely, but I think there's always like you always have like that person in that you might be there's always that friend that is always over the top. Like they're weird, but you're still friends with them anyways. And I feel like that his performance was absolutely perfect in that sense. I don't think that he was overacting. I think he was doing exactly like what he was supposed to do in that role.
Yeah, but I mean, because like that particular performance definitely made its way into the Fifth Element. Because
Okay, yes,
yeah, and
absolutely.
in
Yeah.
that
His
character was
role,
his
his
character
role.
in Fifth Element was annoying.
Oh, dude, yeah. That was where like okay, he definitely was a little crazy in the Fifth Element,
Mm.
but in this movie, I don't see like it is overacting
Right,
and
exactly,
crazy.
and that's why I'm not dinging the movie, you know, for his performance, because again, in context of this movie, I think it plays well. It doesn't play annoying, like in Fifth Element, but I can see why people would possibly knock this movie for Chris Tucker's performance.
But yeah, and then but then after that, his next big roles, which were in Jackie Brown and in Rush Hour, I think he found like he was able to like kind of harness
Yeah.
like it was
Mm.
definitely a different performance.
Mm. All right. There you have it, folks. That's our review for Friday. Both Robert and I give this a 5. Couldn't recommend this movie more. Again, very relatable, very quotable. Do yourself a favor and watch this movie.
God, this movie's almost 30 years old. Can you believe that?
Jesus. Yeah. But the actress that plays Miss Parker, she looking still pretty good.
Hell yeah, she is.
Do you know she was a model on The Price Is Right back in the day?
That's right. Oh my God, that's her. Yeah, I do. I was like, I know this woman from somewhere. I couldn't
Yeah.
place it. You're absolutely right. She was in The Price Is Right.
Yeah, she was one of
Bob
the showcase
Barker.
models. Bob Barker.
But yeah, no, it's so what we have like what one more movie for this month?
Yeah, one more movie this month.
Secondhand Lions,
Secondhand Lions.
a movie I've never seen, but I'm looking forward to watching.
Yes, I really enjoy this movie.
Like I said, these are all your choices.
These
So
are all my choices. I mean, yeah, you put in two, but I ultimately made the final decision. Um, and yeah, so next week we'll be reviewing Secondhand Lions, which will conclude our father figure month.
sounds like a plan to me.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That's the stream for tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time.
Always have a great time.
Always. Don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have. Circular Joy's main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. If you're into old school video games. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circular Joy's Podcast. Don't forget that the next episode of the main podcast will be dropping next week, and again featuring our new friend John. Why am I spacing on his last name?
Fail.
Fail, fail. Yeah, John from A Cut Above.
John Bauman.
Bauman. Yeah, there we go. John Bauman, and yeah, from the Cut Above podcast. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us. Come back next week, and we'll do it all over again. Have a good night.